Hello again and welcome. Today's video is number 7 in the Beginner's Guide Revisited series, and today I'm going to be covering what I term basic hollowing with traditional wood turning tools like the spindle gouge and the bowl gouge. No special tools, no steady rests, no anything other than your basic tools. And the reason for that is it hopefully will show the newer turner where the restrictions start to come in, and if indeed you want to go to the next stage and think about getting specialised tools and possibly a steady rest, making a steady rest, whatever. And I'll be going from small blanks like this 4.5 inch piece of ash for, let's say, a small box or a goblet bowl, right the way up to 12 inches, which could possibly be a vase. Where you get restrictions with your traditional tools is the size of the opening you have. If you're doing a hollow form with a very small opening, then traditional tools do get a bit restrictive because you can't undercut without fouling the opening itself, but that's something I'll hopefully demonstrate as the video progresses. Then it might be time to consider a specialised tool for that job. Okay, without further ado, let's see what we can do hollowing with traditional wood turning tools. So this blank is about 3.5 inches deep. If you haven't got a 3/8 bowl gouge, then the 3/8 spindle gouge will cope with this to a certain extent, just basic hollowing. So if you have a 3/8 bowl gouge, then you wouldn't need to use this, but let's just see how far it goes. Now ideally you need, I always think, is to drill a depth hole, as well as that it gets rid of the slow moving wood in the middle. And we'll go on to a Jacob's chuck later. So for this operation we're turning it around 1500 revs, 1600 revs. Now you can either go in with the, I've covered this on other videos actually, but it won't hurt to say it again. To get the depth hole, you get the spindle gouge on the horizontal and literally at about 45 degrees to start with, and plunge in. And what this does is gets rid of that slow moving wood. Now you can either back hollow using the wing just to the left of the nose and literally in a pivotal motion remove the wood and work your way down the blank. Or indeed you can do it the more traditional method and hollow it like a bowl, if you like. Now with this sort of depth, the spindle gouge has no problem, but even at this shallow depth I can feel vibration and it's flexing. It's not meant for this sort of a job. Taking quite big cuts there. Now my argument is there's no, why go through using this if you've got a beefier tool like a 3/8 bowl gouge, but for shallow boxes, boxes that go to about, I don't know, an inch, inch and a half, if you want to use the spindle gouge you can. As you can see here, it is quite capable to a certain depth, but even there I'm starting to feel that it's starting to struggle a bit. So I'm assuming now that we've got a 3/8 bowl gouge. So for this sort of an operation it is absolutely perfect. You can take nice big shavings, you can do some back hollowing if you'd rather. Now again, here we haven't got a depth hole, but the bowl gouge will handle this really easily. So here we've got virtually the depth of this particular blank now, and I think that looks about just over 3 inches. Yeah, it's just over 3 1/8. So no problem at all there for the 3/8 bowl gouge. So we'll go on to a deeper blank. So now I have a piece on here which is about 8 inches, and we're going to be looking to hollowing about 7 inches. My opinion is that when you're having anything of this length, it's really quite essential, in my view, to get rid of the slow moving wood in the middle and to give you a start to the hollowing process. It not only acts as for getting rid of that slow wood, it also acts as a depth hole as well. Now there are various methods of achieving this. It's okay to plunge in when you're doing a shallow bit of hollowing, but for anything of that length, then that becomes, in my view, a bit risky. So the next option is a drill of some sort. Now to be able to drill on the lathe, you need a very basic piece of equipment called a Jacob's chuck. Now this is a keyed Jacob's chuck, which I prefer to the I prefer the idea of a keyed one to a keyless, because you can get more purchase on it and get a really tight grip. And they come with a Morse taper, and depending on the Morse taper on your lathe, you can get one that will fit into your tailstock like so. This is a 2MT, so that's a 2MT taper. Now you can also get, which are more expensive obviously, you can get them with a screw thread, and which way then in that case you can feed in a threaded rod and make sure that it won't come out or be pulled out of your quill. But they are obviously more expensive. Now I've had this one for about 8 years, and I had a quick look on eBay, and you can pick them up from between 15 and 20 pounds sterling, including delivery. And as I say, this one has lasted me 8 years and it has been invaluable to me. So that is my suggestion. If you're going for deeper hollowing, you need to get one of these. Now obviously that's a 10mm bit, fine, it gets rid of some of the slow moving wood, but obviously it's not going to go deep enough. So the next option, even if you have a big inch drill bit, it's still not going to go deep enough. Now if you go down the force and a bit route, again this is a fairly long force and a bit, but it still goes nowhere deep enough for something of this size. So you have to then invest in an extension rod, and that can become quite expensive. My favourite method, and this is me personally, is an auger bit. You can buy auger bits in various diameters, various lengths. The one thing to be warned about, on the end of all auger bits there is a threaded cone, and that's to help get the hole started when you're doing it with a drill press or indeed handheld. Now that can be a little bit dangerous when you're doing it on a lathe, so what I suggest you do is file down those teeth so that when you're retracting, it doesn't grab to the wood. Now I've had no problem with this, and as I say, I've been using this for quite a lot of years now. So that's my viewpoint on drilling a depth hole and getting rid of the slow moving wood. So we'll put the Jacob's chuck into the quill, and then just tighten up as you would normally, and we're ready to go. One word of warning: if you haven't got a facility to put a drawbar in the back here with the threads at the back of the Morse taper, always make sure you hold on to the Jacob's chuck, especially when you're withdrawing it, because it could pull it out of the out of the quill. You don't need massive speed. I think I'd use this about 500-600 RPM and go in nice and gently and retract frequently to get rid of the chips. Now I've already drilled this down to about 7 inches, and the reason that I can't show you me doing that is I drilled a hole and the sound wasn't working. My battery ran out on my Lathe mic, so there we go. But basically you don't really want to see me do it. What I can do is I'll turn the lathe on and, as I say, about 500-600 revs, and literally you go in. I've got a little bit more to go to get to the mark I put on here, holding on all the time, and then retract it, and you've got it done. And it is a really efficient way of doing it. That squeaking, to alleviate that, if you get a little bit of a little piece of beeswax and just rub it over the drill bit, that reduces that quite significantly and lubricates as you're drilling the hole. So what I'm doing now is making my way down with a 3/8 bowl gouge, and treating it like a shallow bowl at this stage. And that harmonic you have to be aware of. The knocking sound is that inclusion, nothing to worry about. Okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable with this now, so it's hanging over the rest by that amount. So I've actually gone down to, I think it's about 4 inches, just double check here, just under 4 inches, which is a fair old overhang, and it's starting to cause problems. So my advice, only me personally, I wouldn't want to go much further than 4 inches if you're hollowing with a 3/8 bowl gouge. We might get a bit more depth with the 5/8, so I'll try that now and see what limitations that has. And then, as I keep saying, this is purely my opinion and my experiences with hollowing with bowl gouges. No, that's about it. So we're down to there. Which is 5.5 inches basically. So yeah, I could go to 6 inches, but I'm not enjoying it, so I don't see why I should go any further. So to be honest with you, if you're thinking of doing, you could call it deepish hollowing, anything from about 3 or 4 inches longer, deeper, I should seriously consider going down the dedicated hollowing route. Now on the lathe now, I've got a small hollow form, just a basic shape, and it's about 3.5 inches deep, and it has a small opening. Without what I would term, again, specialised hollowing tools, you're going to run into problems when trying to turn under the shoulder here. Now you could use your 3/8 spindle gouge to a point, but you're still not going to get round here. So let's just see how we go. Back hollowing and also traditional hollowing. I've already put a depth hole into the depth that I would be looking for on a piece like this. Now you see already with traditional hollowing I'm having a problem because I can't get around enough without fouling the opening here. Now if I take the 3/8 bowl gouge, that'll be a lot easier for the hollowing process. But already I'm starting to foul, and I'm only sort of there, nowhere near here at all. So it is very restrictive in that respect. For this sort of a piece, and not just this particular shape, but any sort of shape like that, I seriously suggest thinking of a mini hollowing set. Simon Hope does them, you can get them, I think Sorby do them, Henry Taylor, various companies do them. And if you're going to be doing this sort of a hollowing operation, certainly the very basic mini hollowing set is certainly worth considering. Well, in summary, my conclusions are that if you're doing shallow hollowing like a goblet bowl or a small box, then yes, you can get away with a 3/8 spindle gouge to do shallow hollowing. If you have a 3/8 bowl gouge, then you are able to go a bit deeper, and as I say, I think I went to about 4.5, 5 inches, something like that. I think it was 4.5 inches, and I started to feel uncomfortable doing it, and it's not an easy process. So I went to the 1/2 inch bowl gouge, and again that gave me more stability, but again as I reached the sort of 5.5 inch mark, it did start to feel as if I was losing control of it because it was hanging over the rest so far. So my advice, and this is purely my own opinion, obviously nothing is set in stone, as I always say, that if you're considering doing hollowing on a regular basis, even if it's just deeper vases and such like, then consider getting a dedicated hollowing tool. And if you like doing small hollow forms or even large hollow forms with small openings and you want to develop into that, you definitely need to get some hollowing tools that can accommodate what you need to do, because you are really restricted with bowl gouges and spindle gouges to get under that shoulder and to get the wall thickness even. And that's why you're doing that, obviously. So those are my views and my points, and I hope it gives a little bit of information to the newer turner to make some decisions when they start to develop their turning. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers now.